If she fires the attorney, can she represent herself? And if so, do you think that'll be, detrimental to her case?
Good morning, Chandra.
Hi, good morning. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. Thank you for asking. How can we help you this morning?
So my situation is about my daughter and my two grandchildren. So my daughter had an abortion, and because she had a newborn baby, which was 4 months at the time, she needed the help of the father. And so he picked her up after coming home from work. And when picking her up, and they were on the way to his mom's house in Lancaster, they were pulled over. He was pulled over. He was the one driving. And when he was pulled over, I guess after doing a field sobriety test, they determined that he was under the influence. And so they gave the keys to my daughter. My daughter drove the car home, to the mother's house with my grandbaby in the car, the 4-month-old at the time. So fast forward a week after that, she receives a visit or gets a visit from DCFS. A social worker comes, asks some questions, checks the children, because she also has a 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old was not in the car. The 3-year-old spends majority of the time with me. And so the social worker informed my daughter, after asking her questions and everything and telling her what's going to happen next, that she was not part of the case. It was the father that's the part of the case. And so, he had to go to court, but they needed her there because she's the mother of the child. Well, after a couple of visits from two different social workers, my daughter finds out that she is part of the case and that they're now charging her with failure to protect. And there's been a couple of statements that have been modified, not in favor of my daughter. The statements that she gave, they twisted things because I was there. I took notes, so I know exactly what was said, because she did an ROI for me to hear that. But my concern now is the public defender that the court appointed her. He is not working, it seems, on her behalf. He has tried to pressure her to plead guilty, really no contest. But in her words, she has done nothing wrong. And she doesn't understand the things that he's telling her, doesn't understand what's going on at at court. And my question is, for one, can she fire that attorney even after they've gone to court once? Well, they've gone to court, I think, twice via Zoom. And two, if she fires the attorney, can she represent herself? And if so, do you think that'll be, detrimental to her case?
Okay. Just to clarify before Vince answers, it is a court-appointed attorney, correct?
Yes. We did not hire this attorney.
Okay. So, Sharonda, I hope you have a pen and a piece of paper. And just to let you know, and the audience know, I just finished doing a YouTube video on this very question. And the question is, can you fire your court-appointed attorney? And the second question, which is the topic of a whole nother video, is can you represent yourself? Now, let me start with can you represent yourself? In California, there are certain circumstances where you can represent yourself by making what's called a Faretta motion, F-A-R-E-T-T-A. I don't recommend any person who's not a lawyer to represent themselves, especially in a juvenile dependency case when we're talking about you possibly losing your children. Okay? But you asked me, can it be done? Yeah, it can be done. I just don't recommend it. And there is legal authority in California to do that. Now, let me look at my notes. Um, Faretta is based upon a case in California called Faretta versus California, a 1975 case. And the legal citation that you may want to type into Google is 422 US 806 at 835. Apparently, this is a United States Supreme Court case that gives you certain rights to represent yourself. Should you do it? No. Can you fire your attorney, your court-appointed attorney, and get a new court-appointed attorney? The answer is yes, but it's still within the discretion of the judge. The judge could say, I'm not going to change court-appointed attorneys, or, yes, I think you should get a court-appointed attorney. And the way that you do that is by a case called Marsden. You have to ask the court for a Marsden hearing. And you just have to have your attorney tell the court, or you tell the court in open court that you need a Marsden hearing. You don't have to write a formal motion, although in my YouTube video we're going to give out a formal motion, a template that you can use to make a Marsden motion. But Marsden is based upon a case called People versus Marsden, a 1970 case from the Supreme Court of California, and it's 2 Cal 3rd 118, specifically at page 123. So you can make a Marsden motion. Now, the judge doesn't have to grant it. And when you make that Marsden motion, you have to have specific reasons, legal reasons, why you would want another or need another attorney or are entitled to another attorney. That Marsden motion can be made at any time, and there has to be a special Marsden hearing. And at the hearing in juvenile court, what they do is they send everybody outside the courtroom. All right, and the only people in the courtroom are the parent, her attorney, the clerk, the judge, and the bailiff. Everyone else is out of the courtroom because stuff is going to be said that may be of a confidential nature, right? And at that hearing, you have to, or the parent has to say specific facts, has to list some specific facts of why there is a conflict of interest, okay, or why the attorney has been ineffectual, okay? Now let me tell you some typical reasons why a judge, can deny the motion. The parent did not think that the attorney had the client's best interests at heart. That's very general. It's not specific. In a case in California called People v. Silva, the court denied the Marsden motion, all right, for that reason. Here's another reason the trial judge may deny the Marsden motion. The attorney would not make certain motions the parent wanted brought. That was also mentioned in People v. Silva. So again, you got to have something more specific. Usually it's akin to a conflict of interest, and at that Marsden you might be, or the parent should be ready to specifically say. And don't say general stuff. Say very specific stuff before you ask for a Marsden hearing and before you address the judge.
2 minutes.
Okay. So with something specific like him, for instance, when she gave him the consent to speak to me because she didn't understand what was going on, when I asked him, what is it that she's pleading no contest to? First, I said guilty. Why is she pleading guilty? He says, well, ma'am, understand that it's not that serious. It's not a criminal case. It's a civil case. I said, it doesn't matter. If she pleads guilty, then that's going to follow her for the rest of her life. And she didn't do anything wrong. He says, well, ma'am, I can't talk to you. I need to talk to her by herself. Even though she's given him the consent and there's an ROI, where I can, I was able to be in the room with her during the visits of the social workers. Then he's gotten 3 people calling her and harassing her to sign this case plan and all these other papers. And she's constantly saying, no, I'm not going to sign. I'm not going to sign. I'm not going to sign. I'm going to just get an outside, hire outside legal counsel. And at the day of the court, when judge put the case over till February 26th so that she can hire an attorney, he got someone else to call her and tell her that they've emailed her papers and it's the minute order for the court and they need her to sign them. It was actually the same papers that the other 2 people sent.
Okay, sure. Well, Sharonda, let me finish this because my engineer's telling me we've got a break. Listen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
If you're hiring a new attorney, all right, a private attorney to represent her, or she's hiring an attorney to represent her, this whole issue about Marsden hearing and Faretta motions, that's all moot, because the easiest way to get rid of a court-appointed attorney is to hire your own private attorney.
Yeah.
So if you plan on doing that, then you don't have to worry about any of this that we discussed. Okay, Sharonda?
Well, the reason I worried about it is because once they got to talking about the price, then she had to reconsider. So,
right.
Okay.
Okay. But at least I hope I
Okay.
have given that to you. Watch out for my YouTube videos on Marsden motions and Faretta motions. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. Call us back in 3 weeks and give us an update. We'll be right back with more questions, more comments, more stories, more phone calls right after these messages.